It began not on a yacht or at some glitzy, candlelit soiree, but with a sharp rap on Leonardo DiCaprio's Pacific Palisades door just after sunrise. Federal marshals, crisp suits still damp with morning dew, handed over a subpoena thick enough to rival a film script. DiCaprio, accustomed to fan mail and eco-summit invitations, read the header twice. United States versus Sean Combs. The pages detailed a labyrinth of racketeering charges and hinted that Leo's first-hand memories of Diddy's after-hours gatherings could unravel parts of the case. At first he resisted, wary of torching friendships forged in champagne and chart toppers, but prosecutors pressed. They already had photos, travel logs, even yacht crew statements. They needed the voice every jury would trust. Days later, Leo's rehearsal space was no soundstage. It was a quiet conference room where federal attorneys walked him through his own memories. He recalled the exact winter night in St. Bart's when helicopter blades stirred salt mist over Diddy's catamaran, where guests surrendered phones into velvet pouches. He remembered citrus-scented hallways at a Miami mansion, where ice bath challenges and whispered dares blurred into dawn. Bit by bit, cameo roles became clear. Superstar athletes betting outrageous stakes, studio executives doing shots off crystal platters, and a playlist that never hit pause. What stunned prosecutors most wasn't the decadence, it was the ritualistic feel. According to Leo, each party opened with a loyalty toast and an unspoken rule. Anyone refusing a dare risked exile from Diddy's influential circle. That atmosphere of silent coercion, Leo realised, could be the thread that linked scattered accusations into a single narrative of control. But the subpoena was only Act 1. When Leo finally stepped onto the witness stand, he would do more than recount smoky memories. He would connect names, dates and coded phrases in front of a spellbound courtroom. And as he prepared for that moment, one thought nagged at him. If his testimony shattered industry alliances, what explosive secrets might surface next? Leonardo's first real glimpse into Diddy's inner sanctum came off the coast of St. Bart's, where a 200-foot super yacht floated like a nightclub in exile. Guests arrived by tender, greeted not by security guards, but by hosts in white linen, who carried silver bowls for everyone's phones. Leo remembered the way those bowls glowed under UV lights, equal parts polite and ominous. Once the devices disappeared, so did inhibitions. The main deck pulsed with bass heavy enough to rattle champagne flutes, yet the strangest beats came from the invitation-only midnight lounge tucked behind mirrored doors. According to Leo, entry required a single whispered passphrase, "Family stays silent," and a blood-red wristband slipped on by Diddy himself. Inside, the air smelled of jasmine and jet fuel. It was here that the loyalty toast levelled up into something closer to an initiation. Rumours suggest first-timers were dared to plunge into a glowing plunge pool or confess a private secret into a gold microphone that never left the room. Reports claim the mic wasn't even on. Humiliation, not recording, was the point. Leo watched the power dynamics swirl like the yacht's wake. A Grammy-winning singer balked at a dare and was quietly escorted back to shore. Nobody saw her for the rest of the season. In contrast, a young producer who played along landed a chart-topping collaboration weeks later. Proof, Leo believed, that compliance bought opportunity. There was no overt threat, just the unspoken economy of favours and fame. Near dawn, Leo noticed something else. Diddy's crew distributing silver envelopes stamped with a moon emblem. Recipients slipped them into jacket pockets without a word. Whether they held NDAs, cash or simply souvenirs was never clarified, but the envelopes always vanished before daylight reached the marina. As Leo recounted these details to prosecutors, they realised the yacht nights weren't casual excess. They were choreographed auditions for loyalty. And if envelopes travelled from deck to deck, what other artefacts, texts, photos, silent agreements, might still be drifting beneath the surface, waiting for daylight? Months after the yacht encounter, DiCaprio found himself steering his vintage Tesla up a winding Beverly Hills driveway toward what invitations called the Blackout Gala. The mansion, an architectural labyrinth owned by one of Diddy's shell companies, hid behind 30-foot hedges and a steel gate that sealed with a hiss. Past the entryway, guests were handed matte black Venetian masks and instructed, with a smile, to forget their names for one night. Inside, every chandelier wore a dimmer so low it felt like twilight at noon. Servers glided through halls, offering shots in dark glass vials. No labels, no explanations. Leo, forever observant, noticed tiny numbers etched on each vial's silver rim. 041733. A whispered rumour floated that higher numbers matched stronger mixes, a hierarchy of daring sips that built its own silent leaderboard. The evening centrepiece was the Truth Terrace, a patio lined with velvet daybeds overlooking the city lights. Here Diddy orchestrated a rotating circle of story swaps. Each guest drew a card from an obsidian box. Gold meant share your most marketable secret, red meant perform a dare chosen by the group. Refuse, and the box would chime, an odd metallic ping that signalled you'd forfeited your place on the terrace for good. Leo watched the game claim reputations in real time. A rising actor's refusal led to whispers that his next franchise deal quietly evaporated. A screenwriter who complied found his stalled script fast-tracked by a major studio. Toward midnight, Diddy unveiled what Leo later called the Gate Ledger, a leather journal in which staff logged who entered, who left, and how long they stayed. On its final page, beneath the night's tally, 2 names appeared with asterisks, industry powerhouses rumoured to have wired 6-figure donations to one of Diddy's charities the following week. To prosecutors, that ledger suggested parties were more than indulgence, they were leverage. As Leo stepped away, a hush settled over the crowd. Envelopes again changed hands, and the masked faces melted into the mansion's dim corridors. The unspoken question lingered. If a single night could rewrite careers, what would happen when those ledger pages hit the courtroom projector? But the most startling revelation lay beyond Hollywood's borders, on a remote island where Diddy's celebrations took a darker turn, and that's where Leo's testimony truly rattled the prosecution's timeline. Weeks after the masked gala, an embossed invitation arrived by hand at Leo's cliffside bungalow. It bore only 3 words, "No sun needed," and coordinates to a speck of land east of Eleuthera. Rumours online dubbed it Eclipse Island, a place where Diddy hosted the kind of gathering even seasoned insiders called Next Level. From the moment Leonardo's chartered seaplane skimmed the turquoise water, the rules felt harsher. Guests lined up beneath swaying palms to surrender, not just phones, but passports and watches. Time and identity stay on the mainland, a hostess purred. Metal trunks slammed shut, keys whisked away. Each wrist received a charcoal grey band etched with a crescent moon that glowed faintly under blacklight. Attorneys later called those bands a high-tech attendance log, but on the island they looked like branded shackles. Darkness arrived fast. Paths of bamboo torches snaked toward a limestone amphitheatre carved into a cliff. At its centre blazed a bonfire the size of a small house, sparks twisting like shooting stars. Diddy appeared on a rise above the crowd, flanked by 2 silent aides in hooded linen. He raised a stone goblet and announced the night's rite. Every guest must either reveal a life-altering secret before the flames or accept a moon dare chosen by the circle. Decline both and you'd be escorted to a waiting boat, permanently. Leo watched nerves fray. A tech billionaire confessed an affair that hadn't yet hit the tabloids. A chart-topping rapper swallowed a vial labelled simply 17 and dove from the cliff into inky water 40 feet below. Those who complied received obsidian coins stamped with a tiny camera lens. Whispers swirled that each coin represented a favour owed. Those who resisted vanished into the palm-shrouded path toward the pier, their silhouettes swallowed by night. Near dawn, Leo noticed drones, silent, matte black, hovering above the clearing, their lenses winking in the firelight. Whether they streamed footage live or simply archived it for insurance was unclear, but prosecutors would later seize memory cards identical to the coin's emblem. In that moment, DiCaprio realized these parties weren't just decadents. They were a system engineered to harvest secrets, store leverage, and trade silence for opportunity. The boat back to Nassau felt lighter than air, but Leo's mind was anchored to the island's last image. Diddy dropping a fresh coin into a velvet pouch marked with a single star. If that pouch held years of private leverage, what would happen when one coin became evidence bag Exhibit A? And the paper trail didn't stop at hidden islands. Money moved through humanitarian fronts, charity galas, and sudden grants that prosecutors were desperate to map next. Back in Los Angeles, the headlines painted Diddy as a philanthropist on overdrive, school supply drives in Harlem, million-dollar checks for disaster relief, even surprise grants to ocean cleanup groups. To the public it looked like generosity. To prosecutors, it smelled like camouflage. Leonardo's testimony offered the missing lens. Leo remembered a spring soiree at the Peterson Auto Museum, billed as a night for Earth's future. Guests mingled near an electric blue concept car, applauding Diddy's sudden pledge of $5 million to a wildlife refuge that, according to Leo's own eco-contacts, had never received more than 50 grand in a single year. The champagne hadn't lost its fizz before select donors were whisked to a velvet-roped steward's lounge. There, beneath screens looping endangered species footage, Diddy's chief aide handed out slim white folders. Inside each, a glossy photo of the recipient at Eclipse Island or the Blackout Gala, paired with a typed "Thank you for your continued discretion." No threat, no demand, just a visual reminder of shared secrets. Rumours suggest some folders also included a line about future collaborative ventures, and within months those same names were attached to new record deals, film financing packages, and tech partnerships with shockingly fast approvals. On paper, it looked like networking. In Leo's words, it felt like those folders were IOUs written in invisible ink. One moment seared itself into his mind. Diddy casually sliding a check across a marble bar to a studio executive, murmuring, "Consider this seed money. Let's help the planet and your slate." The exec laughed, pocketed the check, and within weeks greenlit a project that had stalled for years. To investigators, that transaction became Exhibit 214, proof that charity events doubled as leverage exchanges. DiCaprio's insight reshaped the prosecution's financial map. Donations flowed from Diddy-owned shell firms into non-profits, then cycled back as consulting fees to companies tied to favoured partygoers. On a whiteboard in the US Attorney's Office, those arrows formed a looping figure 8, money out, influence back. But if silent photos and looping cash fueled the machine, there was still the question of enforcement. How did Diddy ensure no one broke ranks once they'd left the velvet glow? The answer, Leo warned, lay in a shadow network of private investigators and surprise wellness checks, and that revelation would jolt the courtroom. Silence didn't come cheap. It came enforced. Long before subpoenas flew, Leonardo noticed a pattern. Anyone who whispered too loudly about Diddy's midnight rituals soon reported a sudden wellness check. One producer friend told Leo that 2 men in charcoal suits appeared at his door, claiming they were security consultants who'd heard rumours of a break-in. They never showed badges, just apologised for the scare, handed over a sleek business card, and reminded him politely that privacy goes both ways. Digging into his own memories for prosecutors, Leo recalled spotting the same card more than once. It bore a single silver compass rose and no name, only a number that rerouted through 3 countries before ringing. According to invoices later seized, Diddy's companies paid these operatives as event safety advisors, but the services listed read more like quiet persuasion, asset reassurance, relationship containment, narrative management. Sometimes the message arrived digitally. After Eclipse Island, an anonymous email slid into Leo's backup account with a subject line that simply read, "Great weekend, memories are priceless." Attached was a blurred photo of him near the bonfire, crescent wristband glowing like a brand. No threat, no ask, just a digital nudge that the night was on permanent record. Others received more direct reminders. A makeup artist who joked about selling her story found her apartment door jimmied, though nothing was taken. On the coffee table sat a fresh bouquet and another Compass Rose card. She never joked again. A DJ who tweeted a cryptic moon emoji saw his next 3 gigs cancelled within hours, venues citing unforeseen scheduling conflicts. Prosecutors argued these weren't coincidences. They were a web of soft intimidation, tightening whenever someone tugged at a loose thread. Leo's testimony mapped dates, faces, and whispered warnings into a timeline that showed how quickly the Compass Rose network could mobilize. It proved Diddy didn't just gather secrets, he guarded them with velvet gloves lined in iron. Yet even iron can crack under enough pressure. As trial day loomed, one defector stepped forward with a hard drive of party footage, threatening to turn whispers into undeniable proof, and that bombshell set the stage for an electrifying showdown. 2 weeks before Leonardo was set to testify, a nervous manila envelope slid under the prosecution's door. Inside sat a slim SSD drive and a handwritten note, "The moon sees all." The sender, identified only as AV, was later revealed, through hushed midnight meetings with investigators, to be a former lighting tech who'd worked Diddy's parties for years and finally cracked under guilt. He claimed his personal drone, meant to film ocean sunsets for a travel vlog, had accidentally captured footage the official cameras missed. Raw, unfiltered scenes from Eclipse Island and the Blackout Gala, the loyalty toasts, the dares, even hushed side deals inked in candlelight. Word of the footage leaked within days, sending Diddy's defense team into damage control. Court motions flew, branding the videos inadmissible sensationalism, yet every attempt to seal them only amplified curiosity. Cable channels devoted midnight segments to blurry still frames. Social feeds churned moon files into a trending storm. Viewers compared mask designs, trying to match A-list jawlines to silhouettes. Studios quietly combed contracts, bracing for fallout. As the trial clock ticked, prosecutors debated playing the most explosive clip in open court, a decision that could either solidify their case or unleash permanent collateral damage across the industry. What they ultimately chose, and the chain reaction it set off, would come crashing down. The courtroom overflowed an hour before the pivotal session. Reporters crammed shoulder to shoulder, a murmured chant of "show the clip" rippled across the wooden benches. Prosecutors rose, faces set, and announced they would play 93 seconds from the mysterious SSD. Gasps flickered like camera shutters. No one had expected them to go all in. The lights dimmed. A giant screen hummed to life, revealing an outdoor fire pit haloed in sparks. Even in silhouette, the crowd recognized Diddy, crown bead bracelet flashing as he pressed a crescent wristband onto a trembling guest. His voice, unmistakable, rolled through the chamber. "Here, family speaks once and never repeats." When the guest stammered a confession about hidden debts, muffled cheers and clinking glass echoed behind him. Seconds later, Diddy raised a coin toward the drone's lens, murmuring, "Debt erased." The room held its breath. Some jurors shifted, visibly unsettled. Diddy's attorney objected, calling the footage theatrical hearsay. The judge overruled. Leo's earlier testimony had laid enough groundwork to admit it. Projection paused on a freeze frame, the coin's tiny camera emblem glinting against moonlit skin. Leonardo took the stand again, voice steady but eyes bright with unease. He identified the masked figures, line by line. A hush swept over the gallery when he named 2 powerful studio executives, confirming the rumours fans had only guessed at. Defence tried to paint the scene as harmless pageantry, just eccentric entertainment among adults. Leo countered, explaining how every dare carried unspoken penalties and every coin stored future leverage. The SSD, he said, shows the pressure no invitation mentioned. Under cross-examination, Leo never wavered. Asked why he kept attending, he admitted the same force that lured others, fear of exile from an industry gatekeeper. That candour landed heavy. It made the glamour feel thin, the coercion stark. When the lights finally returned, Diddy sat stone still, knuckles white on the defense table. Across the aisle, prosecutors arranged 2 more labelled drives like chess pieces, hints of evidence yet unseen. Court recessed, but the gallery buzzed like a beehive escaping its box. Viewers everywhere wondered, if 1 minute of footage could tilt the room, what shockwaves would the rest unleash? The stage was set for closing arguments, public fallout, and a verdict that might redraw Hollywood's power map. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.